guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Ivy.
So I want to put out a quick PSA. I promise it's not about politics, really. But you guys know that we're still in a pandemic, right? I have been out in places, and I have not seen people wearing masks. I have not seen people social distancing.
No.
It's been pretty wild, actually. I was at mini golf today. And when I went there, it was very bizarre because, like, when you go and play mini golf, you know, you pick your ball or whatever. So, like, you know, that's easy enough. You want to make sure that you touch the one that you're going to get. And then you also pick out your putter. But the putters are a little bit different because they're kind of a free-for-all. They're kind of everywhere. And so, but you want to pick out one that's the right height, right? So I had picked up one and it was too short. And I was like, uh-oh. I've touched this. What do I do with it now? So, you know, I kind of stood around and looked stupid for a minute, and I was like asking the person I was there with, I'm like, do I put this back, or what do I do? They had like a bucket where you like stick the putters in upside down into like a bucket of like sanitizer. And so, you know, I figured it out. Eventually I put it in the bucket of sanitizer, but like we were there and like we were in line, and we were at the counter paying, and like the people that were there, you know, there was other people there also. They were definitely not 6 feet away from us. I mean, they were, you know, right up on us. And I'm like, you know, please get away. I went to a food place too. I went to a food place like that. And the only place that you could wait for your food is at the counter that you pay at. There was no other space for you to stand at. You're supposed to wait there for your food. And while I'm doing that, the lady that was behind me, as soon as I got done paying, immediately she's basically touching me. She's so close. And was trying to pay.
Not in the pandemic is not okay.
It's rude, right? Exactly. And so it was like, are you serious? But you know, I went to it was at a big. Well, you know the Green. You've been there, but the Green is like an outside like shopping mall. And I mean, it was just crazy. It was so packed. It's like this has never even happened, and I'm just completely shocked by it.
Which even Town and Country was bumping.
Was it?
People
you went there?
Everywhere. Yeah, I went there thinking nobody would be there.
Because
nobody's ever there.
It's like a mini mall, so it's all like indoor. Right, well, nobody's ever there, right?
Well,
nobody's
now they have the TJ Maxx and PetSmart and shit all in there now. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of picked up a little bit because of that, but still.
Right. What are all you people doing? This is a health crisis that we're in, and you're all just out there acting like it's no big deal. I don't get it. And like I go to the grocery store and I feel like I'm looked at weird because I wear my mask, and there's most people in there aren't wearing masks, and it's like, really? Even aside from like the workers, you know, it's just wild. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Coronavirus is a very real thing. And you should still be wearing your mask. And regardless of coronavirus, you should still definitely be washing your hands on the regular. And stay the fuck away from people. Stay out of their personal space. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
What's wrong with
I'm
you?
down for social distancing all the time.
I'm a people person.
Keep your distance.
I'm a personal space invader, so I don't know.
I mean, out in public, like, you know, when you're with friends, it's one thing, but like
it's just
strangers
rude
up
to
on
assume.
you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it was weird, but I don't know. So I just wanted to make mention of that real fast. I don't think anything major has really happened this week. Today I saw an article going around. I'll tell you guys. And it was dated exactly 5 years ago today. And the article said that in 5 years, scientists were going to have dinosaurs cloned with the help of technology basically used from Jurassic Park. Basically the same technology used from Jurassic Park. And it was, you know, of course now we've hit the 5-year mark and we still don't have dinosaurs, which is good.
Yeah, we don't need that.
But it was funny. It was a fun little research. Somebody else had posted an article kind of pertaining to the same thing, and it was about cloning the Tasmanian tiger, which went extinct in the 1930s. And the Tasmanian tiger is kind of it's like the Tasmanian tiger is basically Australia's Loch Ness monster. It did exist at one point, and you know, we've got video evidence of it, we've got pictures of it, we have taxidermied, you know, versions of it. But it's very weird because it looks kind of like a dog, fox, cat thing, and it's got stripes, and it walks on all fours.
The chupacabra.
It's weird. Yes, it's very odd. It's very strange, and it also, but it's a marsupial. It's a fucking kangaroo. Like, it has a pouch where it keeps its babies. It's so bizarre. It's such a weird animal, and it would be really cool to have it cloned. But I know the article that they talked about it was like 2 years ago, and they haven't cloned one yet. But people still see it to this day. There's still sightings of it in Australia. There's some pictures that people take, and I don't know what else the pictures could be of. They look like a Tasmanian tiger. So, but I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if that's ethical. As an animal enthusiast, not even just an animal lover, but an enthusiast, and especially one that dabbles with extinct creatures possibly existing and stuff like that, I would love to have, these ancient creatures revived, and I would love to see them with my own eyes. I cry every time in Jurassic Park. I'm like, oh my god. They do move in herds. That's but I don't know if it's a good idea for us to start playing God like that and start bringing back these creatures. So, I don't know. Take that with what you will. Now, the Tasmanian tiger, we hunted to extinction. We killed them. So it's like, do we bring them back? But realistically, if we did anyway, they would be test tube babies, and they'd be raised by humans. They would always live in captivity.
Right.
Because they wouldn't know how not to. They wouldn't have to live by themselves. And so it's like, well, then what's the good of that? Why would we bring it back? I think if we have species that we are killing, that are close to extinction, that are endangered, then sure, we can try to, save them with whatever science we need to save them with. But to bring them back, I don't know if I think that, I don't know. But I thought that was cool. So we were promised dinosaurs 5 years ago, guys, and we didn't get them. We're kind of gypped.
Where are they at?
Right, where are the dinosaurs at?
The only dinosaur we really need is the long necks.
Just the long necks.
Yeah.
That
they're
have
cool.
5 different names.
Yeah.
They are cool.
They're nice. They're vegetarian.
And we just need one. And we just need it to be on its own little island somewhere with all the trees, so that way we can all reenact the Jurassic Park scene.
And they can't leave the island.
They can't leave the island. They can't swim. They can't fly. So yes. Anyway, so this week is kind of another. Well, every week is themed, but this one's a little more of a special theme again, because we've officially made it to episode 13. And I thought it would be kind of fun if we did an episode about superstitions. I never really considered myself a superstitious person. Like, in fact, I've always been that edgy, cool kid that said, like, 13 was my lucky number and stuff like that. I always thought that they were silly old wives' tales. But then I kind of started thinking about different things that I do as a witch that are, I guess, technically superstitious.
Superstitions are just essentially rituals. They
are. And so it's like, so then who am I to knock, if you break a mirror and think you now have bad luck for 7 years?
Do you know why people think that?
I don't. Do you?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's kind of like how, is it the Native Americans that don't like having their picture taken?
I'm not sure.
Well, there's a culture that doesn't like having their picture taken because they feel it traps their soul.
Okay, I've heard that.
So, when we are passing a mirror or look into a mirror, basically a part of our soul is absorbed into that mirror. So, when it breaks, we essentially scattered our soul. So, we've lost a piece of ourselves. That's kind of where it comes from.
That's interesting.
And the 7 years of bad luck, that is even cooler because that actually relates to science because the body basically regenerates itself every 7 years.
Oh, yeah, because your cells are, they regenerate. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, it all kind of makes sense. When I try to take pictures of my cats, they don't really like it. And I didn't know if it's because they...
And they know.
They know, right?
It's like you pull out your phone
They know.
And they'll look
They'll
at your
react.
phone, but then as soon as you open the camera, boop,
Right,
they
instantly
turn.
look right away. Yes, it's so hard to get pictures of them because they will ruin it, or they'll get up and move, or whatever. So I've always wondered, like, is it, with like the soul capturing thing? I'm like, well, is there something to that then? I don't know. Black cats too. Black cats are crossing your path. That's supposedly bad luck, which sucks. It really sucks. Actually, there's a lot of superstition around just black animals in general, and then they're the most killed in shelters and things like that. A lot of people won't adopt a black cat or a black dog.
Well, all that stems from racism.
Do you think that stems from racism?
Oh, absolutely.
It probably does. You're probably right about that. I really didn't look into it, or haven't really looked into enough, because I know it's ridiculous.
Right, I know. It's so dumb to even think that something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much where it's all come from, is because that's how black people have been viewed. So they view animals the same way. That's why a lot of times black people and, past were considered animals. They treated them like animals.
Yeah.
They talked to them like animals.
Yeah.
Like, it's all the same logic.
But then we'd glorify like a white Persian.
Right, exactly.
Or,
a white tiger.
Yeah.
But, a white tiger, it comes from inbreeding. So
yeah, that's not actually.
And, who was inbreeding?
Yeah, well.
The royals. What were the royals? White. So,
white inbreds.
Right.
Yeah,
and now, even still
true.
to this day, the fucking
it's
hillbillies in Kentucky.
Well, right, and it just shows how it's ingrained into your psyche. Like being afraid of spiders. Okay, the reason why we are afraid of spiders or snakes or scorpions or things that can kill us is because of DNA. Even if you've never had a bad encounter with a spider ever in your life, and say at the age of 30 you sit down and you finally see a spider for the first time, you're going to feel that fear, because it is ingrained in you to feel that fear, because we know as a species that spiders are dangerous, they kill, and that's something that took a very long time to learn. And so, well, sadly enough, the same can go for racism as well, because
it's generational curses.
It's generational, right, exactly. And so it's like, even, through all this time, even though we've seen it very slowly weed itself out, it has taken all this time to do so. And it's just absolutely ridiculous.
And I'm pretty sure it's Africa. They actually believe that if you kill a spider, your house can burn down.
I've heard that. I have heard that. Whenever I find a horrible bug in my house, I try not to kill it. It was bad. The one day I had a spider in my sink and it couldn't get out. I have a stainless steel sink, and so it found its way into the sink, and it probably dropped down into it, and it couldn't get out. It was stuck. And I'm like, but I'm scared of it. And like the reason why I found it was because I've got this succulent plant. It's like a cluster of different succulents, and I was taking it into the kitchen to water it, and so I put it under the sink or whatever, and I saw a spider, and I was like, and I was like, well, I'll take care of the spider. Let me take care of the plant first, and then I'll take care of the spider. And I went to go, I don't know why I did this. I'm stupid. But my succulent plants had like a couple, my cats have been eating them, unfortunately. And so I had like some dead, plant petals and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of dump the plant a little bit, and I'm gonna shake it a little bit, and then hopefully the dead stuff just kind of falls off, and that's all I really need to do. Well, so I kind of start dumping it a little bit and shaking it a little bit, and 3 of the plants fell out completely.
Oh,
and so the spider's in there, and I'll tell you, I'm not brave. I'm scared of this tiny spider. And so I'm like, oh. So there's fucking dirt, and there's fucking succulents, and there's a damn spider all in my sink. I don't know where the spider is, because it blends into the dirt and the plants. And it was a mess. But then I finally got the spider out. I put him in like a little plastic cup, and I took him outside. So, but I won't. I'm not, and maybe that's one of my superstitions. I don't know. If I can help it, I try not to kill, bugs that I find in the house. Even like the big scary centipede things. I hate them. They're so scary.
Yeah, I don't like those.
I don't like them, but I think I'm more afraid of squishing them and making a mess than I am of like actually the bug itself. But I've been trying to teach my daughter that. She loves it. She'll go outside. She'll kill all the bugs that she sees. And I'm like, don't do that. That's murder. You're a monster. So that's something that I try personally not to do. But then again, I think, that's just kind of the witch in me, and that's, what I do. We were at, when we were at golf today, they had a bunch of pine trees, and they had some freshly grown pine cones on them. And, I thought, well, let's go ahead and, with my daughter, I'm like, let's go ahead and take some of the pine cones, and we'll take them home, and we'll, cover them in honey, make a bird feeder, out of them, and we'll put them outside. And so I was talking to my daughter, and I was telling her, well, go pick up some pine cones. I wasn't going to take any off the tree. There's plenty on the ground. And she goes, and she's like, well, I want the one on the tree. And I'm like, did you ask the tree first? And she thought I was crazy, but she did. She asked the tree, and then she took a couple pine cones. So, I don't know. But that is one thing I'll do. Like, if I go out, I haven't done it so much this year. I need to do it more, but I don't know. I just haven't been too in tune with my nature walks and stuff. But usually I'll go out, and like, if there's something on the ground, I take it. If that's my offering, I'm allowed to take this, so I will.
Yeah, I still ask. I'm like, because it's like a whole like
ecosystem. Yeah.
It's like, was that put there for, the house of some insects or some shit?
That's
it's just
true
like,
too. I guess I just assume that if it's there for me. So
yeah.
maybe that is a bad assumption.
Well, I mean,
selfish.
it's
how you do it. Yeah,
you don't have to
personal.
believe what I believe.
That's true. I guess that's okay to ask. Yeah, but usually I only take things on the ground. I won't pick anything.
You can always ask or bring an offering.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so that's how I try to conduct myself. But again, that's kind of superstitious. I've always been taught that sweeping your house, when you sweep your house, you're getting rid of all the negative energy in the house. Yeah, so and that's kind of like before I start sweeping, that's kind of, I'm not one of those witches. I don't sit here and chant and all that, but I do spells, and I do things to for my own practice. But so when I go to sweep, I don't say a blessing.
You don't hum or anything?
No, not usually. Not usually.
I mean, I don't do it a lot, but sometimes I do. Like when I'm cleaning, like it, even if it's just like some song,
something that you do.
Yeah,
no, not usually. It's just, I guess I just
should try it.
I build up the intent. Maybe I should.
It's fun.
Well, well, usually when I'm cleaning, I've got music on and stuff, so I'm dancing and stuff anyway. But
then that's essentially
so I guess that's true. Yeah. But I just mean, like, in terms of, like, a superstition, I see it, like, I envision it as I'm, sweeping away the negative energy and stuff like that. And so, that's something, it's just something that I do. Like I said, I never really realized that these were technically, superstitions before. A fun one that people do are, that you can do is, like, when you, my cousin taught me this, when you're at a stoplight or whatever, and like it's green, but then it turns yellow while you're going through it, as you're supposed to like touch the hood of the car and like capture. Yeah. Well, she would like capture the light or whatever, because it'd be bad luck if you didn't, or something.
Or lifting your feet over railroad tracks.
Yeah, lifting your feet over railroad tracks.
I do that just because it's fun and it's cute. It's like, ooh.
It's just something that you get into, and you start doing, like, you hear it from somebody, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna start doing that.
Or padiddle.
Yeah, padiddle something. But padiddle's like a strip game, isn't it? Like, are you supposed to take your clothes off of you? I think we've done that. I think my ex-husband got completely naked in somebody's car once, because I don't remember. It's just, we padiddled, he lost, it was a car full of people, and so he got completely naked. I don't know. We were weird kids. I guess he was my husband and I was married, so I was technically an adult. But we were just strange.
Yeah, right.
One thing that is a family tradition, and I come from a very Italian family, and I don't know if this has, I've never really looked into it. It's just something that I've always known, and I don't do it, and I need to. But I miss it every year. Is on New Year's Eve, you're supposed to tape a dollar bill above your door, and then that brings money into the house for the year, for the coming year. And then you keep it on there for the whole year, and then the following year you gotta replace your dollar bill. And it was something that, like, even now, like, as, like, an adult, it's something, I don't really talk to my family much or anything like that, but when I go and visit them every once in a great while, like, I'll look up and I'll notice that they've got all of the family members, they all have a dollar bill above their door. And I'm like, wow, I should really do that. But then I forget every year. I get too drunk.
Right.
I start drinking.
There's another one, too. You, like, all the dishes you break throughout the year, you actually keep them. And then, like, for the new year, you throw them at your loved ones' houses, and it helps break in the new year.
It's so weird.
Right? Like, what the fuck? I'd be pissed.
Yeah. Well, Jazz does, like, the pots and pans every year.
What's that one?
Well, just the New Year's, once the clock, hits midnight, you go outside and bang your pots and pans. Yeah, she had this fucking, she had this bell, and I remember when we were kids, gosh, she might have been there. We, like, all had pots and pans or whatever, and somebody else that had this bell, and we walked around their neighborhood, like, ringing the bell and banging the pot, like, walking around doing it. We had the biggest one year at her house now, and God, there was like 20 people. She had this party, there was like 20 people there, and we all were out there banging and yelling.
Well, that actually breaks up negativity.
Is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah.
Well, and it could be, like, releasing your negative energies and stuff like that. At my first apartment, it was this little 1-bedroom apartment, and Jazz was there, and we had people over, and Jazz was sad about not being able to bang pots and pans. And we're like, we'll just yell. And so it hits midnight, we start screaming, and then the neighbors start fucking screaming, and we're getting into a screaming match, and everybody's just yelling. It was great.
Like fucking Italy in quarantine.
It was like that. Yeah, we're just all screaming, yelling at each other, Happy New Year, and then just yelling. It was fun. It was cool. So I mean, that's kind of I guess that's more of a tradition rather than a superstition, but it's pretty much the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically the same. I don't see a big difference in the two.
Tradition, ritual, superstition, whatever.
Superstition, right. And then, people talk about Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is a negative, horrible day. And
have you seen the word for fear of Friday the 13th?
No.
It is ridiculous. It's like 2 Greek words.
They have there's an actual word, like a phobia?
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. Like...
It's like really long? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, here, let's look it up.
Look it up. Yeah, look it up. Let's find the Friday the 13th word.
It's like, well, we'll both have to try to say it.
Okay.
Alright. It's this word right here, triskaidekaphobia. Triskaidekaphobia.
Triskaidekaphobia. Yeah, we're probably saying it so wrong.
Probably.
It's from the Greek words paraskevi, which is Friday, and decatrius, which is 13. So neither of those words are even the same. They're not even included. And
well, this is the scientific name that's been given to it. This is the actual.
This is
paraskevi Catriophobia. Well, if we
paraskevi Catriophobia. Yeah. Okay, so that's got both words in it. Wow, that's
yeah, it's weird.
Okay, that is a weird word. That's
do you
I
know
didn't know that was a thing.
Do you know where the superstition comes from?
For Friday the 13th?
Well, it's mostly emphasis on the number 13, and it's seen as bad luck because of the Last Supper.
Oh.
Because there was 13 guests.
Okay.
And Judas is the one who betrayed Christ.
Yeah.
So they, if
that makes sense.
Like, I think it's in Russia. There's a few of them. It's like if you're at a dinner party and there's 13 guests, somebody is gonna have like a shitty time or something shitty.
You gotta make somebody leave.
Right, like
you got to go
at the limit,
right? Or you need to invite somebody. One of the two,
right?
That's wild. I wonder if that's why my life sucks, because I've got 13 tattooed on me.
Well, that's another thing. Like, science has actually kind of shown that it's, it's like the law of attraction, essentially, where you think about something and it brings it in.
Yeah.
But it's just because you're focused on it.
You make it negative, and so it becomes negative. And that's definitely... I guess that's why I really haven't seen myself as a very superstitious person, because I feel like it's something that you give power to, and it's something that I've never really given power to, until I realized that there's a lot of things that I give power to that are seen as quirky or superstitious or traditional, whatever you want to call it. I want to see what 13 is in numerology.
Well, it'll reduce down to 4, and 4 is about foundations and building, creating. But 13, I'm not really sure.
Actually, that's what it says. The numerology number 13 is a number of focus and pragmatism. Its primary focus is building a secure foundation for the future. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. Well, it's nothing bad, so I don't know.
But now it's like, why? So yeah, we have 13, and why it's bad luck, but why is it associated with Friday? That I don't know. But
that's a good question. I mean, I know the modern day, outlook on it is the movies.
Jesus was crucified on a Friday.
So that's probably it. So
I'm pretty sure. I think that's what it is.
And then just made it Friday the 13th is a bad day.
Yeah, because the Last
I'm not
Supper.
Sure. Isn't it weird how things just lose their meaning over time?
Right.
It's
now we think Friday the 13th and it's a horror movie.
And it's a horror movie, right? Everybody's like, oh, Friday the 13th, it's a day to sit and binge watch Jason. And so it is weird because, like, think about, like, in another, 1,000 years what they're going to think it is. Is it still going to be associated with the movies? They're going to be like, long ago.
Right.
They used to sit down and watch these movies. They're like, what are movies? If we last that long. So I don't know. Yeah, that is a weird thing. Yeah, 13's always been seen as a bad thing, but I don't know. I've owned it and turned it into something else. Walking under ladders, that's another thing that you're not supposed to do. I don't know what the meaning is. I'm sure there's some deep meaning to it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I know I wouldn't do it just because why would you walk under a ladder?
Right. There's so much that could go wrong if you did. So I think maybe that's why it's considered unlucky, because it's just kind of stupid.
Right. It's not something you should do in general.
Right. So. You just shouldn't do that. It's like a safety measure. So maybe that's why we do that.
Your sleeve gets snagged on it and pull it down, and the person on
everybody
top
comes
falls
up. Right,
over.
Exactly. Anything could happen.
The paint spills on you and you're carrying it.
They drop their hammer on your head. I mean, anything could happen. So it's like, why would you do that? I've never understood that. Opening an umbrella inside, that's another one that I don't know the origin of.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I could understand why you wouldn't do it, because umbrellas are kind of dangerous. Like,
and there's no need to open an umbrella inside unless you're testing it.
Oh, well, and right. And like you and I, like sitting as close as we are, if I were to open an umbrella right now, then I run the risk of like poking you in the eye, right? Or hitting you with it, or, it's just...
Or who knows? Maybe you're the Penguin from Batman and bullets come out.
Wouldn't that be a weird way to discover that? Like, you just have an umbrella, you open it, like a bullet spray everywhere, you're like, oh shit, I'm the Penguin. Everything makes sense now. My love for black clothes and the fact that I'm fat.
Right. It's all so suiting. Aren't we all just the Penguin?
Oh, we're all just the Penguin if we really want to be. If you really believe in yourself, you could have an umbrella with bullets in it. That'd be a hell of a weapon, though. Can you imagine? Like, if you're getting jumped by people and you just have your umbrella, like, oh, this person's got an umbrella, let's attack them. And you just open it. It'd be a great defense against everyone.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
But yeah, I mean, that superstition makes sense.
Now, what about throwing salt over your shoulder? Do you do that?
Nah, I don't do that.
I do.
Do you? Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just because you've always been told to do it?
No, not necessarily. It just feels right. But there's, like, a whole, like, I don't even know them all, but there's like a whole like scheme of things. Like if you throw it over your left shoulder, your right shoulder.
I've heard
and
that,
then
yeah.
where it lands, whatever. But the type of salt.
It's an entire ritual, right? Not just a little thing.
Right, but the most common is that the devil hangs out on your left shoulder. Okay. And most people are right-handed, so they throw it over their left shoulder. Oh. And it's to blind the devil from being able to sneak in. But that's actually like a Christian thing. And it's funny, there's so many superstitions
that
around.
come from Christianity.
Yeah,
you're right about that.
But
so like if you don't spill salt for like 5 years, and that means what, you've been controlled by the devil the whole time, or right? I mean, wouldn't that seem a little unlucky if you don't even get the chance to do it,
Well, there's even...
Or like the devil just pops in every time he sees the opportunity, like, oh shit,
right.
She spilled the salt again, it's my time.
Well, that's one thing that I think might have been the Romans. I don't know. But salt was like, so scarce that it could actually be used as currency.
Okay, well, yeah.
So if you spilled the salt, you would have to blind the devil, same thing as the Christian thing, to, like, basically pay dues for your foolishness.
Well, yeah, then you better turn around and pick that shit up because it's worth some money.
Right. But it's supposed to blind the devil, either way.
For whatever reason, it blinds the devil. Throwing salt over your shoulder a day keeps the devil away, so... whatever it takes. Not today, Satan. The next time I spill salt, I'm just going to make a big scene out of it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like, I do it at the restaurant all the time. Sometimes...
But a lot of people do it, so it's not weird that you do it.
Well, I said it was funny. Didn't I? Or didn't I say it was weird?
No, I don't think you said either. I don't think you said either one. I was just mentioning the fact that, like, nobody would question you throwing salt over your shoulder.
No, because so many people do it.
But if somebody watched me... Which is kind of a common practice. If someone watched me walk around town with a smudge stick, it'd be weird, right? People would be like, what is she doing?
For most people yeah. But for me, I'm like,
cleanse us.
Never.
Right. But for most people, right, they'd be confused. They'd be like, what are you doing? But if you, like I said, if you take salt, throw it over your shoulder, nobody would be like, nobody would question you. They'd just be like, oh, yeah, that old thing. Right. So, and it's kind of weird, but I don't know, smudging, I guess, is a type of ritual, so maybe a type of superstition.
It could be seen as that.
Yeah, another thing, yeah.
That's basically where superstition stemmed from.
Right. It's
it's kind of fear or phobia or protection, like knocking on wood. That's because it's like a pagan practice. Like gods and spirits used to live in the trees and stuff, so they would either like knock on the wood for protection or to show gratitude for a lucky streak.
Well, other stuff is weird. Like, have you seen like the candle that you put in your ear to clean your ear?
Yeah.
So, like, that's not actually... And then, like, people take it and, like, it's got, like, the paper or whatever, and, like, you undo the paper, and it's got, like, the wax in it or whatever, and everybody's like, oh, that was in my ear? That's actually not real. That's not a real thing. It's just the wax from the candle that was inside of the paper that didn't really get burned all the way, because you're not going to burn all of your skin off. And so, it's kind of seen as, like, a... I mean,
Sounds
it's kind
kinky.
Well, it can be. I'm sure you could stick it in any hole if you wanted to.
The whole candlestick.
Right. Just get one of those big votive candles. Big prayer candle. Shove
or
it right
one of
in.
those big fucking white woman candles that are like...
like a big old, like a Yankee candle.
That they never burn.
Yeah.
My good candles!
My mom's got a couple of those. She would, too. But yeah, there's a lot of, like, medical, like, old wives' tales about things that you can do. Like, I remember when I was pregnant, and I was very pregnant, and everybody's like, you need to start walking and get that baby out, or whatever, and, like, but I was actually looking into, like, different things that you should do to, like, promote going into labor. And, some of them there was some science behind, but some it was just stupid.
Right.
Like drinking castor oil. Like, that's really dumb. You shouldn't do that. You're just going to have horrible diarrhea. So, I mean, I guess it gives you the need to push.
Right.
But just a different kind of push.
Or even, like, how the baby sits in your belly is supposed to signify the sex.
Yeah, what the sex is, or like one thing that I always heard was like, if you had heartburn or not, it would be a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
Or if they had hair, like because some of the ultrasounds you can see that they had hair, but you couldn't tell the gender yet, and stuff like that. And so it's like there's a lot of those. There's like something where you could like pee on something, and if it changes colors and it's a boy or it's a girl, and none of that shit works. Right. None of it works. There's different ones like remedies for headaches and colds, and like people talk about vitamin C when you're sick with a cold. And one of my doctors told me one time, he said, well, here's the thing about the vitamin C thing, is that if you take vitamin C, then you will get rid of your cold within a week. And if you don't take vitamin C, then you will get rid of your cold within 7 days. It doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
Now
before you
right.
get sick.
It's good to build the immunity to. My sister, every time she's sick, she has chicken noodle soup, and she does it even when she's got a cold. And it's like, that's not, But, I guess if it makes her feel better, then...
Well, it helps you breathe better because of the warmth and the steam.
I mean, not really. It's more for, like, your stomach, and it's more for, like, when you're puking, how you should only really eat certain things. And chicken noodle soup would be one of those. Like, when you're sick, yes, when you're puking, like, it would make sense to have some chicken soup, because it's something light, it's something your stomach can handle, it's something it can process. When you're sick with a cold, I mean, again, it's more of a comfort than it is anything. Now, comforts are important when you're not feeling well, but they're not going to remedy your situation. I mean, it's not a cure.
It's not going to fix anything.
Right. Right. It's going to make you feel better, right? But you're still going to have that cold for a week or 7 days,
and it'll only be temporary.
Right. Right.
Like once you're done with the soup, bitch, you're going to be clogged back up anyway.
All right, so enjoy it. Like, yeah, and there's a lot of those. A lot of people are like, well, my grandma used to do this, and it worked every time. And it's like, another thing is like when you have a cold, people put like they'll put like Vaseline or some shit on their feet or something, and it's like, there's no science behind that.
Well, there is some weird shit with feet. Like, I don't know about that or whatever, but like, you can drain a lot of toxins through your feet because it's all pathology. So like that's why earthing is a good thing, because there's so many different points in there, but I don't know how it actually works. Like, I don't know if it really detoxes you or if it just pulls whatever is in your skin out. I don't know.
In my view, so you have your physical body and you have your spiritual body. And, not saying that I'm correct, but in my opinion, you have your spiritual body and your physical body. And so they're two different things. So for me, when you're talking about grounding, that affects your spiritual body and not your physical body. And that would make sense.
No, it's actually been scientifically proven that it does help your physical body.
Well, but that's like a placebo effect. That's just like saying, like,
no, it's positive ions.
But if you were staring in a mirror and you were telling yourself every single day, I am going to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. And you make yourself, it's that law of attraction, and you make yourself believe that you are going to lose 10 pounds, guess what? You're going to lose 10 pounds without actually physically changing anything. So you can have an interception between your physical body and your spiritual body, I believe. Again, I'm not saying that I'm correct, but that's just my personal, and that's kind of where it is. When you research it, you're going to have doctors that say, no, this is all bullshit. You're going to have doctors that say, no, this is all for real. You're going to have people in the middle that say, well, there's some, and this is why. I think it just then becomes kind of up to you to, again, decide how much power you're going to give to those things. And I think that's what really makes the stuff real, personally. That's what manifested into something that is physical then, that you could see. But again, that's what I think. I mean, like I said, I don't know, the Vaseline thing is weird. I don't understand that, but people do it. I would think that's uncomfortable.
I wouldn't like it.
But
this one lady told me that if you're trying to quit smoking and you get those little snus pouches. Well, you can do snus or
We've
snap.
talked about this on this show before, but yes,
You
go
put
ahead.
it in between your big toe and your next toe, and it's supposed to help you quit smoking.
Yeah. And you said you did it, or you haven't?
I didn't do it. She did it.
She did it. That's what she did. Yeah. Yeah. Some people have their things. And again, is that something that...
Did it work, or was it just because she was telling herself it would work?
Because she was telling herself it worked, it worked. Right. I mean, it all worked in some sense, if it, whatever way it worked, it did work for her. So it's like, well, there is something to some of them, but, there might not necessarily be a science to all of them. So that's what I think. And that's kind of, that's where we dabble in the things that kind of blur the line of the science and the spiritual and the fiction.
Well, science doesn't discredit magic. It only exemplifies it. So
for the most part, but I think there's a lot of scientists that are like, oh, well, I can't prove it, so therefore it's not real because they're scientists.
Right, but that doesn't actually prove anything because there's nothing that they have that can disprove it either.
Right.
Unless they can disprove it, then...
But but the mainstream scientists
that's just in the
believe
physical realm.
that they need to be able to prove it in order for it to be something. But you're right. Being able to not being able to disprove it is also as much of a science,
right?
As being able to prove it.
And just because you can't prove it in the physical realm doesn't mean it's not happening,
right?
In the ethereal realm,
right? There's no way for us to. I saw an article, this is a little bit off topic, but I saw an article that said something about in our galaxy alone, there's so many civilizations.
36 was
yes,
it? Yeah,
something like that. And then that means that in the universe there's this many or whatever, roughly. But it really, it really bugged me because universe, motherfucker, we have multiverses.
Right.
There's multiple universes out there. What are you talking about? So and so it's infinite. But yeah, I saw that article and it just, I was annoyed by it.
But it's kind of sweet though, because it's like if there is like all these other civilizations out there, they're probably doing the same things we are. So it's like, are we all just trying to find each other again?
Well, there's definitely civilizations out there. I mean, I think that's. I mean, personally, I think that's definitely. It's not proven, but it would just be ridiculous if there weren't.
Right.
I mean, come on. I think most people believe in that possibility, but I don't know. Like I said, it's just the fact that we haven't universally accepted multiple universes. That bugs me. I don't know. I just think it's time for us to evolve, people.
Yeah, it's probably like they're literally waiting for all of us to just like abolish like any kind of discrimination,
right? And
then we'll be welcome.
Right? They're like, once you realize that,
we've been excommunicated.
Maybe that's why we're here. Maybe that's what started our existence. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I'm trying to think of more superstitions. Can you think of any more?
There's one that is like if you go up to a table like of your friends, you're not supposed to wave or say hi. You go up and knock on the table because it is like the superstition is that the devil is allergic to oak. Okay. But it's like if the table's not oak.
These are all pretty Christian. Oh yeah, so what's it mean? I've never heard of that one. Like when you approach them, or
so like you go to a restaurant and like instead of like hey, you just walk up and knock on the table, and then you just like join in,
and then you can.
But it goes to show that you're not actually the devil posing as you, or that you don't have the devil with you.
Well, that's another one when you say something and you're like, like I've never.
Pinch poke, you owe me a Coke.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. But no, like you say something, you're like, I've never done this horrible thing, and it's like something horrible, and then you knock on the wood. I don't want to say anything because it makes me nervous.
Yeah,
because I don't want to put it out there. Yeah, and then you knock on the wood
because it just basically sends them away.
Another one that I heard of was like when your palm itches, you scratch it on wood. And the way
left, you get money.
Well, the way that I've always heard it is that while you scratch it on wood, you make a wish, and then whatever the wish is, it'll come true. I've never heard the money. I've heard other people talk about like the money. What if you do it the left? It's money. What about if it's the
Well,
right?
if it's the right, you're going to spend money.
Oh,
But
okay.
that also depends on if you're left-handed or right-handed.
Yeah.
But also, left-handedness was seen as a sign of witchcraft, which is very superstitious.
Oh.
And it's funny because my mom is actually left-handed, but they made her become right-handed, and she's ambidextrous.
Isn't that weird how that works? What's her twin? Left-handed or right-handed? Do you know?
I don't. I've never asked.
You should
I'll have to
ask.
ask her.
You should ask. I'm curious. Maybe she had the same treatment or what. And then another one is like if you're like the clip on your necklace turns around, someone's thinking about you or talking
make
about
a wish.
you.
Or if your ear itches.
I've heard that people that turn you're supposed to make a wish when you turn it around. I've never heard the ear itching.
Yeah, there's like, I think it's your right is your masculine, your left is your feminine. So if your right ear itches, somebody's talking aggressively or negatively. Yeah. And then if it's your left ear, it's somebody's concerned about you or thinking about you or sharing how much they care about you.
I've never heard that. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
well,
weird.
My right ear itches a lot, so that's probably not a good thing.
Or when the bottom of your feet itches.
I've heard that one.
Yeah, you're walking on new ground. I love that one.
Very interesting. I've never heard that one before. That's I don't know. There's a lot that I don't know, I guess.
But I don't know if there's like a right foot and a left foot because, they don't...
Why not, right?
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense because depending on which hand is your dominant and less dominant, your right hand is your projection hand, your left hand is your receptive hand.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a difference between the two on the feet because I've never heard about the feet thing, so...
Well, I mean, it wouldn't really make sense because, like, if you have a projective hand and a receptive hand, like, you do stuff with your projective hand. That's why it's your projective hand.
Right.
And then your receptive hand is usually, like, what you use to, like, receive.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that's true.
But your feet, you don't really have... They both kind of do the same thing. They just move you.
So the feet are, instead of being seen as like two separate entities, they're seen as just kind of one. It's just kind of your one.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Have to look into it.
I'll have to look into that and see if your feet do different things. I don't know. Yeah. Am I going to jack you off with my left foot or my right foot?
Right. Or both of them.
Or both of
Get
them.
in this foot pussy.
Oh, gosh. Well,
Fussy.
Is that what it's called? A fussy?
Mm-hmm. Or your thrussy.
Thrussy?
Yeah.
Is that another
your
term?
Throat.
That's your throat?
Thrussy.
We'll save that one for next week.
Or bussy.
I've heard bussy. Yeah, I've heard bussy. Wow, that's something. Only on Weird Wednesdays, guys. When we talk about the number 13 and bussies all in 1 week.
Right.
Man, that's wild. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of any more. I think I'm out. I don't know. Do you have any more that you can think of?
I don't know. I'm sure I will once we stop recording.
Of course, yeah. Once it's done, we'll be like, oh, that one. That's kind of how it seems to happen. That's how it was when I was telling somebody about the episode, and I was like, I can't really think of any, and then we just started talking about them, and I was like, oh yeah, there's that one and that one and that one.
Yeah, it's like they're so common that you don't really think about it, I guess.
Shooting stars, making a wish on a shooting star.
That's
one. That's another one. I don't know where it came from, but it makes sense.
Well, there's actually like this book that is all about superstitions.
Okay.
And
what's it called? Do you remember what it's called?
I can't, but it's red and it's got a black cat on it.
Oh, okay.
But I've seen it in every bookstore. That's how I know some of those.
Because you just pick it up and read it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do. I'll go to the bookstore and just read. Like, I won't buy the book.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll buy the book if it like pulls me in.
Yeah.
But, if I can just pick it up and get a few pieces of information out of it. Why would I buy it?
True. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, you gotta try before you buy. I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't at a bookstore. But you haven't bought the book yet?
No.
You probably should.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem...
I feel like you've learned everything that you need to know?
No, not that. don't give it much power.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, right. That's true too. I guess.
mean, it would be cool to have, but it's just kind of like
It'd be a cool coffee table book, but
yeah.
I see what you're saying. That's true.
I want Amanda Lepore's book as a coffee table book.
Okay. There's a lot of pictures in it.
But it's out of print, so it's like
no.
$150. But it is good. Because it's like a biography, but also it has like a bunch of her pictures.
Yeah,
so.
pictures and stuff. Yeah, well, guys, you hear that? If you want to get Ivy anything anytime soon, Amanda Lepore's book.
I mean, I won't object.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the superstitions. I mean, it is a very, like I said, there's kind of those blurred lines between superstition and tradition and ritual. And,
yeah, it's like if we are going to consider traditions, like there's a whole bunch of shit, like stomping the glass or jumping over a broom.
Right. Well, but are those superstitions or are they tradition?
Raining on a wedding. There's one.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, that's bad.
Some people see that as good, though.
Some cultures do see that as good. It just depends.
I don't know why,
but I think again, it's the power that you give it.
Yeah.
And so whatever you choose to,
it's like your marriage falls apart and you get a divorce. It's like, God damn it! Why did it rain on my wedding? Like, what the fuck?
Outside
like, bitch, get real.
Yeah, right. Y'all knew you shouldn't have gotten married in the first place.
Right. Toxic as hell.
Trying to blame the rain. But no, I mean, it just depends. I mean, people, if you give it that power, then of course you're going to manifest that. I mean, that is something that's I personally feel like has been proven time and time and again is the law of attraction. And so, and manifesting and, so if it's something that you put out there as negative or positive, then of course you're going to see some type of negative or positive result, from that. So, that's my hot take on superstitions. Yeah. That's what I got to say about that. But it's fun. It can be fun to look into them and learn the different ones. There's a couple that I'm going to personally take away and look into tonight just because I've learned about it, so and I just never really
there's some
researched it.
There's some stuff about I think it's if you say cheers, it's bad luck, but it's only like in
certain settings,
right? A certain place. I can't think of it.
I say cheers a lot. I do a lot of cheers, and then it's like as I get drunker through the night, I do even more cheers, and it's not necessary, but I don't know. I just
you're not supposed to put a shot glass down if there's anything left in it.
I might have heard that one before. But that's probably just invented by,
a drunk.
A drunk, right. They just started it at a bar somewhere. Pass it on. Oh, my Luckies. I flip my Luckies in my cigarettes.
Yeah.
And I don't just flip the one. I flip two of them. And, people always find that weird. But
see, how I do that is I pull out one that I'm going to smoke, and if others come with it, that one and whatever ones come out are Luckies. They can be up to 5 sometimes.
That's not a bad way to do it. I've always flipped two because I've always heard you have one for good luck and one for a good fuck. Yeah. So I've had the two, but why? I don't know. Just because I saw somebody else do it and decided to do it. I mean, one time Jazz, she made a whole pack of Luckies, with from all of her other cigarette packs, and then she had her whole one pack of Luckies and smoked them.
Hey.
Just,
good luck and good fucks.
Kids do weird things, yeah.
But does it, like, if you don't smoke those at the end of your pack, do they lose their power?
What do you mean, if you...
Like, because you're supposed to smoke those last. Yeah. So if you don't smoke them and then you start a new pack, do they lose their power?
Because you give them that power to another set of Luckies.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe. That's a good point.
I mean, I guess if she intended to do it, probably not.
I mean, why do you have to save them for last anyway? I mean, that's... Right, why would you have to? Can't you just...
be the first ones you smoke.
Right.
So then you still got fucking cigarettes to smoke after the good fuck.
Well, right. Well, you smoke your good fuck one after your good fuck.
Right.
And then, so, okay, well then, but then your first, lucky, can't you just, like, go buy a scratch-off ticket, smoke your lucky, and then scratch it, and, I mean, and that's the point of it being lucky?
I don't know, you might want to...
There's something behind
smoke
it.
the cigarette and then buy it.
And then buy it, right. And
maybe. I don't know. Because, I mean, the lottery ticket can't change once
you purchase it.
But, we don't know what's underneath it. So we don't know if it can change.
That's true. I might experiment with the lucky cigarette. Yeah, I don't know. The luckies are a different thing, so I guess that's another one. All right, I'm going to stop speculating because we'll just sit here and spitball different superstitions, but I think that's all we have for today. Do we have any other closing statements? We've had a couple the last couple episodes. We've had a lot to say, but I don't really...
Well, I think it's just stuff that needed to be said.
Things that have been happening, yeah. I think we've pretty much solidified that, so... Yeah, I think you're right.
I solidified that with my nails.
I know! Look at your nails! Oh my gosh. She's got the best nails, y'all. If you don't follow her on social media, they're posted, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Then you post them, yeah. She's got to post it on social media. And that's your regular nail tech that did that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, the cool thing is like, I'm white, she's white, but I'm trans. And, it's kind of inspired by, because in Philadelphia they had the gay pride, but then they added the black and the brown stripe.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then another artist spinned off of that because black trans women specifically are more susceptible to being murdered than
anybody else.
Pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
And so it's like white, pink, blue, and then the black and the brown. Uh-huh. That kind of like come to a point, kind of like the Puerto Rican flag.
Okay.
And then the rainbow stripes. It actually looks really beautiful. Okay. I love it. But that was the inspiration for it. But I felt like it was important to have the trans nails with the Black Lives Matter and the Black Power fist.
Yeah.
Because black trans women are so marginalized. But then we have pride, so...
Has anybody given you outward compliments on them since you've had... I know you just got them done, but...
Actually,
I was just curious if anybody... Has anybody given you criticism for having them? Have they really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually had a black person tell me that having the Black Power fist was offensive to them as an individual. They said, and I told him, I was like, I don't mean any kind of offense.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, if you would like, I will definitely change it. Yeah. Like, I will have that taken off. Yeah. Like, I don't want to cross any boundaries.
Yeah.
But the reason I have it, and then I went and told them the whole thing, and they were like, okay, well, that makes sense. So it kind of really helps open up a discussion.
Sure.
And, it's like, my mom's seen them, and, like, I could just see the look on her face. Because, one, she's not okay with me being trans, but then she's also, she's not...
She's an all lives matters person.
I wouldn't say that. She's never said it, so I can't really say. But she's, she talks a lot about the looters and rioters and stuff. So
that's
it's
what
like...
they focus on, right.
Where her priorities are not right. But
right.
She just kind of, like, looked at them and, I could tell it wasn't, like, easy for her to see, I guess. Which is like, girl, you're worried about seeing some pride nails? Like,
pick your battles, honey.
Epitome of privilege, okay?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, we actually were jumping on the trampoline, and my mom was, like, stumbling, and I went to go, like, help her, and my trans nail poked her in the arm and drew blood. It's like, oh, poor mommy. But I'm like, it's also kind of like funny.
You deserve it.
Like,
you asked for this.
I don't say she deserves it, but it's funny that it was one of the trans nails of all of them. But
I guess really being poked by any of them would have been.
Yeah, it hurts. They're sharp.
Yeah, they are. Oh, yeah, they are. Maybe I'll do pride nails. I gotta do mine. Maybe that's what I'll do. It is Pride Month, I guess. Right? I mean, we're still alive. Is that
right?
We're all still here. Well,
that goes to show how much of an uproar we're not fucking having over not being able to have a pride parade because
My-
we understand the circumstances.
My birthday is in 2 weeks exactly, and I'm like, really? It's my birthday already? And it's weird. But whatever. All right, let's not get on that tangent again. We've said what we needed to say about it, and we'll keep it at that. But all right, guys. Well, we'll see you next Wednesday for another episode. Bye.
Bye.